I formatted it according to a deep sleep rhythm plus layer transition. The beginning leads at a moderately slow pace. The seed section uses longer feeling pauses, and the end uses many silences so the listener can fall into sleep. I am not going to ask you to relax. I am not going to ask you to breathe in any special way. I am not going to guide you along any path of clouds or beaches or illuminated forests. What is going to happen here tonight has no exact name in any language. And perhaps that is the most honest thing I can tell you at the beginning, that what you are about to experience does not fit completely into any category. We call it meditation because we do not have a better word. But it is not only meditation, it is a signal. It is a frequency your inner self already knows. And tonight, we are going to tune into it in the same way you turn the dial of a radio until the static noise gives way to something clear. The signal was always there. You only needed to stop interfering with it. And something within you tonight is going to awaken. I do not know exactly what that something is for you. It may be the intuition you have been ignoring for months because it did not seem logical. It may be the version of yourself you left behind at some point because it seemed impossible to continue being that person. It may be a certainty about your life that you have been postponing recognizing, because recognizing it would mean changing something that feels frightening to change. It may simply be an inner stillness you have not felt in a long time, and that you believed was no longer available to you. I do not know what it is for you, but something in you does know. And that part that knows is exactly the part that is going to awaken tonight. There is something I think is important to tell you before we close our eyes. We live in a culture that rewards visible effort, that celebrates doing, producing, achieving, proving. And in that culture, the idea that something important can happen while you are still, while you sleep, while you do absolutely nothing, seems almost suspicious, as if rest were wasted time, as if silence were a luxury you cannot afford. Tonight, we are going to challenge that idea at its root. What is going to happen while you sleep tonight is not inactivity. It is the kind of activity the conscious mind cannot perform because it requires resources that the waking state does not allow. The brain during sleep does not rest. It processes, consolidates, eliminates, reorganizes, connects, creates the synapses that during the day became overloaded with information find, in the hours of sleep, the space to organize that information, to discard what is not useful, to build new connections between data that during the day seemed unrelated. Sleep scientists call some of these processes memory consolidation and glymphatic cleaning. But beyond the technical vocabulary, what happens is something extraordinary. The sleeping brain does the invisible work that allows the waking brain to be different from the one that went to bed. Literally, at a neurological level, connections change during the night. Tonight, with the intention you bring here, that nighttime process has a direction. Write in the comments, I have already awakened, if you are ready for something within you that has been asleep for too long to become active again. Close your eyes. Not to relax, to stop processing the external world. Open eyes consume an enormous proportion of the brain's resources, because vision is the most demanding sense we have. Closing them is not surrendering, it is redirecting. Everything the brain was using to process what you saw is now available to process what is inside. And inside, there is much more than we usually believe. There is research showing that the human brain processes 11 million bits of information per second at the subconscious level. 11 million. The conscious mind, the one that plans and analyzes and speaks and decides, processes 45. 45 out of 11 million. That means the vast majority of what you know, what you perceive, what you can do, happens beneath the level where you normally operate. Bring your attention to the center of the body, not with effort, not looking for anything in particular, only orienting awareness inward, like someone turning slightly in one direction to see something better that was to their left. A soft turn of attention toward the inside. And as you do, notice something you may have been overlooking. The body is already in the process of letting go of the day. The tensions you have accumulated in the last hours, in the last days. The nervous system is already beginning to process them in its own way. There is an intelligence in the body that operates without asking your permission, that knows how to lower the temperature of alertness when the danger has passed, that knows how to regulate the heart rhythm, that knows how to prepare the body for sleep by releasing melatonin when the light decreases, that knows countless things you have never had to learn consciously. That intelligence is the same one that will do the work tonight, the same one that beats in the heart without you asking it to, the same one that grows the nails and repairs damaged tissues and filters toxins from the blood, an intelligence that works constantly, silently, in favor of your well-being, without requiring recognition or instructions or approval. Tonight, you give it an additional assignment, and it will take it. Now imagine something. Imagine that inside you, in that center where you have just brought your attention, there is a seed. Not an abstract metaphorical seed, a real seed. With all the concreteness something can have in imagination, with weight, with texture, perhaps dark, perhaps with a hard shell protecting what is inside, small compared to what it is going to become. Seeds are the most extraordinary objects in the natural world. Inside them, compressed into a microscopic space, is the complete information of what that seed can become. The seed of an oak contains within it the code of a tree that can live 500 years, that can measure 30 meters tall, that can sustain dozens of ecosystems, that can produce millions of acorns in its lifetime. All of that is there inside, in that small hard thing that could fit in the palm of your hand. It does not need anyone to teach it how to be an oak. It does not need instructions. It does not need someone to come and explain in which direction to grow. It already has all the necessary knowledge built in. The only thing it needs is the right environment. A little soil, a little moisture, a little darkness, and the necessary time for the process that was already programmed to happen. And there is something else about the seed that feels powerful to me. Before germinating, from the outside, it is impossible to know that it is alive. A seed and a stone of the same size and color are indistinguishable to someone who does not know how to look. The seed makes no announcement of what it contains. It has no way of showing the world the complexity of what is about to unfold. It simply waits, silently containing everything it is capable of being. How many times have you felt that way? As if from the outside, no one could see what is inside. As as if the complexity of what you are, of what you can do, of what you have not yet unfolded, were invisible to those around you, and sometimes even to yourself, as if you carried something inside that you have not yet found the way to express. That thing you carry inside that has not yet fully come out, that is exactly what the seed contains. It is not lost. It did not disappear. It is only waiting for the right environment to move. Tonight is that environment. That seed is you, not the person you have been these years, with your habits and your fears and your patterns and your learned limitations, but what that person contains, the unexpressed potential, the version that has not yet fully developed, the code that is there, even if circumstances have not yet created the right environment for it to bloom. Tonight is the right environment. Silence is the soil. The darkness behind closed eyelids is the darkness the seed needs in order to begin moving. The stillness of this moment is the moisture that activates what was latent, and what is about to happen in the hours that follow while you sleep is the process of germination, invisible to the outside world, silent, without spectacle, but absolutely real. Seeds do not germinate all at once. There is no dramatic moment when the shell breaks and the sprout shoots toward the sun. The process begins much earlier, inside, with the seed absorbing water, with the inner membranes changing, with the chemistry inside reorganizing to make way for what is coming. No one sees that. The seed does not announce it. It happens in silence, in darkness, beneath the surface. Botanists call that process imbibition. The seed absorbing water until its cells activate. It is a point of no return. Once imbibition begins, the seed can no longer be only a seed. The process is set in motion, and what was potential begins to become reality. This meditation is your imbibition, not the visible sprout, not the moment when someone else can see the change, but the silent process that happens first and makes everything that comes afterward possible. The point of no return, where something that was only possibility begins to move toward form. This is also how the most important changes in a human being happen, not when the result is visible, much earlier, in silence, on nights like this, when something you cannot see or touch or describe exactly reorganizes itself inside you to make way for what is about to come. Let your breathing be only the rhythm of that process, without controlling it, without doing it in any special way. Just the air entering and the air leaving, like the seed absorbing what it needs to begin moving. With every inhalation, imagine that you absorb what you need for the process that will begin tonight. You do not have to know exactly what it is. The body knows. The intelligence that makes you function knows. Just let it enter with the air, possibility, renewal, openness, whatever needs to activate in you tonight. With every exhalation, release what no longer fits in the version that is beginning to germinate, not with effort, not forcing anything outward, with the same ease with which air that has already done its work in the lungs leaves without resistance. Release the old, so there is space for the new. Release the fear that no longer protects you, but limits you. Release the story you have told yourself about what you are capable of being. Release the ceiling you placed above your own possibilities without realizing you were placing it there. The space that remains after releasing is exactly the space in which the seed can expand. The oak cannot grow if there is no space. Neither can you. Inhale, and something inside activates. Exhale, and something you did not need releases to make space. Inhale, and the information that was already in you, all that code that came with the seed, begins to organize itself in a way that in the coming hours, in the coming days, will begin to become visible. Exhale, and the process continues, even if you do nothing to help it. There is something liberating in the idea that you do not have to do anything for this to happen, that the constant doing your everyday life demands has no place here, that in fact, doing too much is exactly what prevents the seed from germinating. Because if you keep disturbing the soil, looking for signs of the sprout, you do not give the roots time to establish themselves. What is asked here is the opposite of doing. You are asked to let go, to trust, to allow what already knows how to happen. And now, with that image of the seed inside you, I want you to go even deeper inward. There is a threshold. You cannot see it with your eyes because your eyes are closed, but you can feel it. It is in that place where consciousness begins to blur, where the edges between you and sleep begin to become less sharp. A threshold between the waking state and the sleeping state. Neuroscientists call it the hypnagogic state. Some call it the threshold. Contemplative traditions from all cultures had names for it. The moment of greatest permeability between the conscious mind and what lies beneath. At the threshold, the brain produces theta waves, the same waves activated during deep meditation, during moments of peak creativity, during the instants before falling asleep. In theta waves, the conscious mind lowers its guard. The inner critic, the one that judges and discards and says, "That is impossible," or "You are not capable of that," becomes silent, and what remains is pure receptivity, an opening to what is normally blocked by the noise of constant judgment. At the threshold, the deepest suggestions are installed with an ease that is impossible in the normal waking state. Not suggestions from outside, suggestions from yourself, intentions you send into the subconscious at the moment when it is most receptive, beliefs that update when the guardian of the critical mind is not at its post. The great creators of history knew this threshold, even if they did not call it that. Thomas Edison was famous for his power naps in his laboratory. He would sit in a chair, holding steel balls in his hands above metal plates on the floor. When he began to fall asleep and crossed the hypnagogic threshold, the balls would fall and the sound would wake him. In that instant, between wakefulness and sleep, he captured ideas that would never have arrived in the normal waking state. The archives his assistants preserved are full of inventions and solutions that he himself described as coming from nowhere, coming from the threshold. Salvador Dali had a similar method with a key and a plate. Nikola Tesla designed complete inventions while in that state. Einstein worked on his mathematical problems before sleeping with the intention that sleep would solve them. They were not charlatans or mystics. They were people who had discovered, practically and intuitively, what neuroscience confirms today. At the threshold between wakefulness and sleep, the human brain has access to resources that are not available when it is fully awake or fully asleep. It is the most creative and most receptive zone that exists. And tonight, you are entering it. You are approaching that threshold now. You notice it in the way thoughts begin to space out, in how they no longer arrive so quickly or so urgently, in how the body feels heavier, in a way that is not tiredness, but surrender, the kind of surrender that feels like relief. And in that approach to the threshold, there is something I want to name for you before you cross. Every night of your life, without exception, you have crossed that threshold. You have passed from being awake to being asleep. You have done it thousands of times. And in that crossing, you never had to do anything special. You did not learn how to fall asleep. You simply stopped resisting. Sleep was always there waiting for you. The only time it does not arrive is when the conscious mind, that mind of 45 bits per second, refuses to let go. When it keeps circling problems, as if that hour of the night were the best moment to solve them. When the body wants to cross the threshold, but the mind keeps clinging to the shore of wakefulness. Tonight the conscious mind receives permission to release the shore. There is nothing in this moment that requires its attention. Nothing that will be solved better now than tomorrow. Nothing wakefulness can do in the coming hours that sleep cannot do better. Release the shore. Let the current carry you to the other side, to the place where the most important work happens without you having to supervise it. At the threshold, before crossing it, send an intention. It does not have to be in words. It can be an image, a color, a sensation, something you want to begin reorganizing while you sleep. Clarity about a decision you have been postponing. The opening of the heart that you know closed and that you miss. The confidence you had at some point and that somewhere along the way was slowly lost. The creativity that became blocked. The energy that disappeared. The certainty that you deserve what you desire. Whatever you choose, the subconscious receives it. It works on it. In the hours of sleep that come, in the REM cycles, where the brain processes and reorganizes and consolidates, that material you have just given it will be handled with the wisdom of 11 million bits per second working in your favor. You do not have to know how it does it. The seed does not know botany. It simply germinates. The threshold is very close. You can feel how the eyelids become heavier, how the difference between being asleep and being awake begins to blur, how thoughts are no longer completely linear, and sometimes an image or a sensation appears that does not have full logic but feels important. That is the threshold. That is the sign that you are exactly where you need to be. Do not cross yet. Just stay at the edge, in that wonderful instability between one side and the other, the land between wakefulness and sleep, where what is possible in no other state occurs. There are versions of you that you have not explored yet, not because they did not exist, but because the noise of the day and the tiredness of the night and the weight of what you believe you are have not left space for them to appear. Tonight, in the silence and at the threshold, something of that moves, without announcement, without spectacle, with the discretion of the seed germinating in darkness. Think for a moment about what you could do if you were not afraid, not the fear you sometimes feel consciously and identify clearly, the deeper fear, the one that operates beneath the level where you recognize it, the fear of being too much, of wanting too much, of trying and failing, of trying and succeeding, and then not knowing what to do with that underground fear that has been shaping many of your decisions without you fully realizing it. That is exactly what the subconscious can reorganize tonight while you sleep, not through conscious effort, but through the natural digestion process the brain performs during sleep with all the emotional material of the day, difficult experiences, processed, fears, examined in the broader context of who you are, possibilities, the daytime mind discarded too quickly, reviewed with the more generous judgment the sleep state allows. You do not have to do anything for that process to happen. It is already designed to happen. You only have to give it what it will work with, the intention, the direction, the seed you want to begin germinating tonight. And tomorrow, when you wake up, perhaps you will not be able to say exactly what changed, but something will have changed. A lightness you do not know the source of, a small clarity about something that had felt confusing, a sensation that something stuck, moved a millimeter during the night. Those millimeters are the sprouts beginning to appear at the surface of the earth, the visible sign of a process that began much earlier, in darkness, in silence, on a night exactly like this one. And if tomorrow you do not feel anything obviously different, it does not matter. Sometimes the sprout takes days to appear above the surface. That does not mean the seed is not germinating. It means the process is happening inside, before becoming visible outside. That is precisely the nature of the deepest and most lasting changes. They are not spectacular at the beginning. They are silent at the beginning and powerful when they arrive. Trust the process, even if you cannot see it. The seed trusts the process, even though it has no eyes to see the sun toward which it is moving. You do not need to see the destination, either for the process to work. You only need to give yourself permission for it to happen. Permission to sleep with intention planted. Permission to believe that what happens while you are not conscious is not nothing, because it is everything. That trust is also what awakens tonight. The ability to release control over a process that was never yours to control. The wisdom of knowing when doing needs to stop so being can work. The humility of recognizing that the intelligence that makes you function is far more vast than the mind you believe yourself to be. Cross now toward sleep, toward the territory where the seed can do its work without the conscious mind interfering, where the subconscious has all the space and all the resources to reorganize what it needs to reorganize, to release what is no longer useful, to install what is coming. The darkness of this night is not the end of anything. It is the fertile soil where something new is beginning. And just as you would not ask the seed to emerge before its time, because the process is not complete, tonight you also do not need to make anything arrive before it is ready. Trust the darkness. Trust the silence. Trust that something you cannot see working may be exactly what is working most efficiently. Let go of the last thoughts of the day, like someone releasing a balloon and watching it drift toward the sky without trying to recover it. It leaves. Good. Let it leave. Let go of the need to know exactly what will change. That is for tomorrow. Tonight you do not need to know. You only need to let go. Let go also of the question of whether this is going to work. It is already working. The intention planted, the seed in the soil, the threshold right before you. This is not the first night something in you germinates without you knowing. It has happened before, on other difficult nights, in other periods of transition. Many of the most important things you are today were planted in moments that did not seem special at the time. A conversation you heard without knowing it would change something. A book you read at the exact moment you needed it. An experience you processed during sleep, and that the next morning made you see things differently. Life has always been working with you, even if you have not always noticed it. Tonight, you notice it. Tonight, you invite it. Tonight, you are aware that the process exists, and you give it your deliberate consent. That makes a difference. Cross. Sleep, rest. Tonight something within you will awaken.